I'm super excited to be here with you today doing a solo episode. I'm going to talk about my opinions and stance on the mental load of social media from a couple of different angles and why boundaries are more imperative than ever. And this is coming from somebody who has grown her business via social media for the last 6.5 years. So I see incredible value in social media and being able to reach so many people across the globe has allowed my family a freedom that we never would have experienced if I only grew my business locally. Okay. Because it's allowed me to reach many people, leverage my time, use automation. I think social media is an incredible tool and the internet in general. However, I do think that there is a serious mental load that comes with social media. Social media can affect our mental health if we allow it to. And these are the things that I want to address today. And part of what inspired me to record this episode is because I actually was stood up by somebody about an hour and a half ago who is a coach for men. He teaches men how to step into their masculine energy, how to take radical responsibility for themselves, to lead. And when I reached out to him, he was about 6 minutes late for our episode. I reached out to him and this was the second time we were trying to record together. I reached out and his response was crazy to me. It was super passive. It was super like him not taking responsibility for not showing up. I honestly felt like I was having an interaction with like a 10-year-old boy who doesn't have life skills and was like getting caught. It was really weird. And it got me thinking about how he shows up one way on his social media and he's like getting paid to teach men to be leaders. Okay. And the things he teaches are incredible. Like that's part of why I invited him onto the podcast. But how he behaved behind the scenes when he dropped the ball on something was the polar opposite of how he presents himself on social media. So that inspired me to really think. And I've been thinking about social media a lot lately because I've been really detoxing from social media in general. I've been offline way more than I've been online, and I'm so much happier. Again, I love social media. I use Instagram and YouTube as a place to learn, to get questions answered, to discover things specifically for like my health, my overall well being, to find podcast guests, right? So again, it's not that social media is bad. With most things, nothing is ever all bad or all good. It's learning to live in the gray, learning to live in the polarity of something that exists. And I want to talk about that today. And I will be mentioning more about this idea that not everybody is who they say they are on social media. That's my fourth point. I'm going to go through but four things that I want you to really think about when it comes to the mental load of social media and really detoxing from that and putting some boundaries in place. And this is really about thinking for yourself. Okay. Like, I just feel that we're in a time in our life where a lot of people aren't thinking for themselves and they're looking everywhere else for the answers instead of knowing that the answer is already inside of them. Social media, YouTube, Google, ChatGPT, all of it should only reinforce and confirm what you already know to be true inside of you. Okay. And we are learning to outsource our wisdom, the Holy Spirit, our intuition, whatever you call it. We're outsourcing it to an AI bot, which BTW, I use AI in my business. I use it as, like an employee. So again, it's not all bad or all good, but I don't use AI for everything. In fact, I don't use AI for my content because I want my content to be my voice. I don't want to outsource my power and my perspective to AI, right? And there's nothing wrong with using AI as a support, but that's just an example I'm giving you where I come up with my hooks, I come up with my content, right? And I make sure that the message is truly from me, okay? Where I use AI is to organize my business. Sometimes I run certain things through AI to help me make it more like efficient. I will sometimes have AI assist me or like my employee in creating out like funnels and things like that. But when it comes to the meat and potatoes of what you're hearing from me, it's all me. And that's really, really important. Is that I don't outsource my own wisdom and lived experience and, the Holy Spirit, my intuition to social media, to AI, to other people, anything like that. Okay. And there have been moments where I have done that. And so I'm not shaming or blaming, but there are some really intelligent people on this planet who are outsourcing their own intuition and inner knowing to social media, to people on the internet, to YouTube, to ChatGPT. And it's crazy to me. Okay. And it's really wreaking havoc in people's lives. So the first thing that I want to share with you is a story about during the pandemic, because this is a great example and it kind of encompasses almost everything I'm going to talk about today. So I'm very passionate about Black Lives Matter. Okay. And not to say I have all the knowledge, I'm just saying I'm passionate about it. I'm also very passionate about human trafficking, shedding light on human trafficking, sex trafficking. You guys know that I was trafficked as a young lady by my father. I'm very passionate about this. It can happen it is happening under people's noses, in their own families, in their own neighborhoods. It doesn't always look like what we think it looks like. I'm very passionate about it. Well, during the pandemic, I had extra time on my hands, and there were certain issues coming to the surface and that were really loud and that were being highlighted by the algorithm. And Black Lives Matter and human trafficking was one of them. Okay. Or two of them. And happened to be two that I'm very passionate about. And there were a lot of other of them, but they were rabbit holes that I didn't always choose to go down. And what ended up happening for me was that I was consuming so much content about in regards to the Black Lives Matter movement and slavery and, the truth about what Black people experience in America and the human trafficking and the sex trafficking and the child trafficking specifically. I was consuming so much content that I became pretty obsessed. I also, the more I consumed, the more the algorithm fed me really explicit content. Okay. And I am a very sensitive person. And especially like I get nightmares about things and I get really anxious and overwhelmed by hard things that are happening in the world. What ended up happening to me is that I was consuming and I was getting fed more and more explicit content in both of these areas. And I started having nightmares. I started to not be able to fall asleep. I started having some paranoia about my daughter's safety, all sorts of stuff. Okay. And I remember one day I'm just like, Andrea, you've got to reel it the fuck in. Like, this is not, this is, yes, like knowledge is power, but at what point does knowledge become toxic to a person? Right? There's a certain amount of knowledge that is power, and then it goes over this threshold where knowledge, awareness, knowing can become very harmful. And something that I think is really important for people to understand is that the average person consumes, I'm going to be looking at my notes for these stats, consumes 74 gigabytes of information daily. And this was done by a study that's 5 times more than in 1986. So our brains and our beings and our nervous systems were never wired for us to consume the amount of information that we consume on a daily basis now that we have technology. And it's even happening, like my daughter's a great example. They call my daughter's generation and even the generation before her the anxious generation. Part of it is that how they socialize is completely different. Like the way that they socialize using phones and chat threads versus going out and meeting in person and stuff. But that aside, the access to information that they have is insane. Like my daughter will say things to me that I will look at her and she'll be worried about it, right? And I'm like, where did you even learn about that? She's worried about like world events that her brain is not wired to handle at this point. Like the things that she learns about and talks about at school and hears about from her friends because they're all on TikTok and YouTube and she's not. And the things that she even sees on YouTube Kids, right? Some of it's really positive. She's like, hey, can we go on a trip to Japan? and because I want to go see the X, Y, and Z, and that's really cool. But on the flip side, there's the negatives to that. And she is consuming so much information that is so advanced for somebody, for her 11-year-old brain and emotions and hormones and development. And this is why we call them the anxious generation, because she's worried and trying to troubleshoot things that she shouldn't even know about yet, right? The things that she knows about, I didn't learn about things like that until high school and early college. World events and things that I was in discussion groups in early college, she's now learning about those same types of things at 11, 10, 8, 9 years old. It's out of control. And we as adults are doing the same thing to ourselves, right? And whatever, pick your poison. What is it the thing? Like I can sometimes go down health rabbit trails because I have some health issues that I'm constantly trying to figure out what the problem is. And so I'm looking and trying to piece together information. And the more I learn about myself, the more I'm trying to piece it together. And I end up going down all of these rabbit trails about all of this information about wellness and health and toxins and this and that and, food and manufactured food and what's in our food for real and all these things. And yes, that's really powerful for me to know. But at the same time, sometimes I am like waterboarding myself with the information. And I just want to ask you, like, what are you waterboarding yourself with? What information, trails or whatever are you going down that you are doing it in excess? And here's how I like to think about it. Just because I know that something is happening or exists doesn't mean I need to know every single detail about it in order to make an informed decision or in order to have an opinion about it or in order to take a stance on it. Okay, this is how I feel about politics. Like, you guys don't even get me started. I don't go down politic rabbit trails because it's never ending, it's endless, it's enraging, right and left wing. And it's not that I'm ignorant and that I don't know, it's that I know enough to be dangerous and then the rest I don't need to know. Like me scrolling and finding all this information that's going to piss me off, how is that going to like make me a better like make better informed decisions? It's really not, right? If we really look at it this way. And a lot of people lie to themselves and tell themselves, well, I'm staying informed. Okay, well, actually you're addicted to rage porn. That's actually the truth, whatever it is, right? Whatever the thing is. And that's part of what was happening to me with the Black Lives Matter and the human trafficking. Number one, I was enraged. I was overwhelmed. I was anxious. I was scared. And I was like so pissed off all the time. And what I noticed is the more information I consumed, the more paralyzed I actually became. Okay. So getting back to some stats, the human brain is actually not evolved to handle this much like novelty, comparison, and stimulation that we experience on social media. Like we were never ever wired to be inundated with all the things that we're inundated with every single day. Okay. This leads to decision fatigue. Okay. Attention fragmentation and a low grade experience of chronic stress. Right. I think about how much stress I had before social media, and I still had a lot of stress. Like, I was in grad school, I was planning a wedding, I lived all the way across the country from anybody in my core tight knit network support system, right? I was out on the East Coast with my fiance. He was working 60 hours a week because he was getting his PhD. I was working as a brand new therapist in nonprofit. I was dealing with so many hard cases. I was stressed. I would say I was just as like my life circumstances now are maybe less stressful than my life circumstances then, even though I have stressful life circumstances now. Okay, I do. And of course, it's you can't compare. It's like comparing banana to an orange. Both have their things. But the point of me saying this is that I have had more struggles with sleep in my time, I would say in the last 10 years, especially the last 6 that I've been growing a business on social media, having issues with sleep off and on. And I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, it's how much I'm on my phone and my computer, how much bullshit I'm consuming that stresses me out, makes me feel overwhelmed and is inundating me, and what I'm consuming. Okay. That's the difference between now and then. I was stressed out then. Like, I had stuff, but I slept well. Like, I had lots of periods of peace, even though there were things in my life I was unhappy with, because I didn't always just like pick up my phone, right? And like scroll on my phone, things that would irritate, like gasoline to the fire. Okay. And so that's the quality of I have had to be even more intentional about the quality of my mental health now in the last 10 years, especially the last 6 when I've been an entrepreneur online, compared to before. I had equal, and I'll be honest with you, before I hadn't worked through a lot of my trauma yet. So I was dealing with also my own dysfunction and behavior patterns from trauma that I wasn't even aware of at the time. Okay. So in some ways, I had more stress back then or more triggers back then than I do now. Yet, I have to really grapple and be very mindful about my mental health now more than I did then because there's more things coming at me. And this is the case for you. There's more things that you're invited into so easily because of the era we are living in with social media and YouTube and Google and ChatGPT and all of that. Okay. Yes, the world is crazier now, but I will be honest with you. The world has always been fucking crazy. Okay. It's that we have more access to learn about it than ever before, to know what's happening in real time all the time than ever before. Okay. And so we were not wired for this. And this is why it's so important for you to protect yourself, to protect your mental health, to protect your sleep with the blue light bullshit, to protect your overall well being. Okay. To be mindful about what you're consuming and how it's making you feel. This is so important. So, the next point I want to talk about is how the algorithm is actually designed to hack your brain. Okay. So, I will look something up and the algorithm on Facebook and Instagram will start feeding me. It happened the other day. I'm looking to like, make friends in my local community. I live in Las Vegas. I don't have a huge local community. I'm working on that. And so I just started like looking up on Instagram different networking groups in Las Vegas for women networking groups in Las Vegas. Well, as soon as I did that, I think I looked like twice. The algorithm started feeding me all these ads and all these coaches who are in Las Vegas, which in some ways is actually really great because then I can plug into their communities and make some awesome entrepreneur girlfriends. But it's that easy. It's that fast. Like the algorithm is programmed and designed to hack into the thing that you're interested in and it'll feed you more and more. And the more you consume it, the more it feeds you. So there's been periods of time where I'm on this like health research journey and holy shit, the algorithm feeds me so much wellness knowledge and health knowledge and all these different doctors and all these different biohackers, which is great. But guess what? Oh, after a while, it overwhelms me. And I feel like there's so much to understand that I'm never going to be well. Like, if I don't find the right biohacking healing thing, I'm never going to be well. It gets overwhelming, you guys. Okay. And this is what the algorithm is designed to do is like hack into you, hack into your brain, your life, like the things. So, and the other thing is that the algorithm doesn't like know what's true. The information, it's along the lines of what you were looking into. So it could actually be false information as well. Right. And that's the other thing to understand. They're showing you the things that are going to keep you engaged and keep you online the longest. Okay. Platforms use behavioral design. Okay. Like variable rewards to hook users. It's the same principles behind slot machines, you guys, and like video games. Okay. These are adult video, like social media is an adult video game. Okay. It's an adult slot machine. And personalization is like an echo chamber plus emotional reinforcement. Okay. And so what I really want to encourage you to think about is going back to my story about going down the rabbit trails way too far for human trafficking, child sex trafficking and Black Lives Matter. And how it started to get to the point where I was angry all the time and I was fearful all the time and I was just like obsessive all the time. So again, these are two things that are very near and dear to my heart and they're things I do in my life to be an advocate and an ally. It's not like, that's all gone away, but it's how I engage with the topic to protect my own mental health that is really important and a huge lesson that I learned that I'm trying to really impart here. So, one of the things that I like to call like certain types of content on social media, really it's anything that pisses you off. Okay, rage porn. Rage porn. So it's content designed to provoke like anger, outrage, and helplessness. And these posts actually spike dopamine and cortisol in the body. And it creates an emotional addiction. Like I have friends, God love them. I actually have had to mute their stories because all they post in their stories is like angry political shit. And I just am not interested in any of it. Okay? It has nothing to do with if I agree with it or not. It is not anything I'm interested in. I know how I feel and what I think about our left and right and our president and our politics and our policies. I already know how I feel. And I don't feel that looking at all of this stuff that just mocks people and spouts off anger about different politicians and different policies and, picking things apart and, all of this, that isn't going to help me better process how I feel. It's not keeping me informed. If anything, it's just a way to fuel my anger, okay, or my frustration or my feelings or whatever. Okay. And I will tell you the truth. Some of these people, I experience them as very angry people. And there's nothing wrong with anger. Listen, I am a recovering like anger rageaholic addict. Okay. That was like my way to armor myself and protect myself in my life was to be angry all the time and to have rage. And it kept certain people at a distance in my life. And it also kept it where certain people wouldn't challenge me. That's just the truth. And so I understand the orientation towards anger and fueling your own anger and your own rage. I fucking lived that way for decades. Okay. And what I experience with some of my friends and or colleagues and friends online who are constantly posting this stuff is it's not to inform people. It's not to like spread awareness. It's to validate their own anger and their own rage. And they typically, the way that I experience them are they're pretty angry, agitated, ragey people. And a lot of the issues that they have in their life are because they created them. By the way, I just told you that I'm a recovering rageaholic, but so the type of people who are like reposting and reposting and reposting, like I really want before you follow their rabbit trail or you hitch your wagon to their cart or whatever their car, I want you to take a step back and like really think about how you experience this person. Is this a person you want to hitch your cart to? Right? It's not about not being an advocate. It's not about not spreading awareness. You guys, we treat things so black and white and it's ridiculous. Nothing is fucking black and white. I'm talking about the people who all like whatever it is, the thing that they're, whatever about that's what they harp on it to a point where it's so ineffective nobody can hear them. You know what it reminds me of? So I'm a believer. I love Jesus. I'm a Christian. And I live in Las Vegas. So sometimes my husband and I will go down to the strip and have brunch or something, right? Like we'll go to a fancy meal or whatever. And sometimes we get seated outside on a patio. And there are these men who walk around with these big ass freaking microphone things, okay? And they are screaming at the top of their lungs with big signs on about how, like, you need to love Jesus or you're going to go to hell and like all this crazy shit that I find so distasteful, okay, as a Christian. And they just walk around. And I'm thinking, okay, first of all, who is going to actually feel like they want to come to Jesus when you're trying to elicit all this fear and you're doing it from a place of like shaming and condemnation and anger, right? And in such an aggressive way. Like how we communicate matters. Okay. And this is how I experience my friends, God love them, my friends who post so much like hate and rage against the opposite political party. Listen, I don't love our president, but the shit that's posted about him, I'm just like, yeah, some of it might be true, but like this isn't helping anything. All it does is continue to fuel rage and anger and paralyzation and people dehumanizing each other. Like the very thing that people are so angry at him for, they're doing themselves in a different way. And, but yet he's the only one to blame. Like it's just none of it's effective. Okay. I didn't even mean to go on a tangent about this, but anyway, it's not effective. And the reason why I'm harping on this so much, I don't really care what your political views are. Okay. Like that's not even what this is about. But if it's something that you are consuming, and a lot of times politics is that, right? Or stuff about Trump or stuff about, whatever, like some sort of political figure or Elon Musk or whoever the fuck it is, right? Like people start to consume it and then they get so angry and then they're posting all this stuff. And then what ends up happening is they start saying things like, if you support this person, I hate you. If you support this person, we're not going to be friends anymore. And I'm just like, wow, if this person knew what I really thought, what my real political points of view were, they probably wouldn't be my friend, or maybe they would hate me for my points of view, right? Like I just think this is crazy and it makes the person look like a complete fucking asshole. Like they end up looking like a freaking psycho. That's what they end up looking like. Saying shit like that makes you look psycho. It makes you look unhinged. Maybe you don't care, but harm genuine connected relationships because you've gone down the like rage porn rabbit trail and now you're saying all sorts of crazy shit on your social media about how if you voted for somebody, or if you believe this, or if you believe that, or if you don't support this or you don't support that, then like unfollow or I hate you and stuff. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like rage porn turns people into, like, if they allow it, it turns people into the exact thing that they actually say that they're against. It's all the same shit. It's all the same shit. It makes them complete hypocrites and they don't even see it. And they're alienating people with their rage. It's anger is a very addictive emotion. There's a difference between healthy anger and processing it and working through it, and anger that is highly addicting, highly armoring, highly anger can become very dangerous because it can make people dehumanize other people very easily. If they don't understand how to use their anger in a healthy way, how to process their anger, it turns into rage, it turns into being belligerent, and it makes people dehumanize other people all the time. And there's a lot of people who claim to be really self aware people who walk around consuming this stuff on the internet and then thinking that they're just advocating when really they are now dehumanizing the people who have opposite opinions of them. And I find it to be so disturbing. And this is another reason why I spend minimal time on social media because, if my friend or my colleague or my whoever wants to think and feel that way, okay, fine. But I don't want to see that side of them because I don't want to end up having to feel like I need to not have a relationship with them because they're actually really being really toxic. That's a really toxic way to like look at things and treat people and behave. And I think that because we're on social media, it's almost easier because there's this like anonymity factor, even though it isn't anonymous. And like it's really weird. It's really bizarre. And I'm really encouraging you to really think about these things. Like, what are the things that you are just posting out of pure rage, right? Or what are the things that you're following that just fuel this anger and this feeling of superiority and this indignation and this disgust that you feel? What are you, is that actually helping you? Is that making you take action? Is that making you make healthy choices in your life? So I actually make better choices now, right? I have an organization who I'm partnered with, who I work with for human trafficking, who I regularly donate to, who I give a huge chunk of my money to, who I stay informed from, and how I help my community, and specifically in Las Vegas with the whole like human trafficking and sex trafficking scene. And I do my part that I can at this point in time with the resources I have. And I don't need to be going down all these rabbit trails, learning about all the things that I can't even tackle anyway, that I already know are there. It's how I protect my mental health so that I can remain a really resourceful person, so that I can make a difference in the areas that I have enough power and resources to make a difference in. Okay. And this is where I think people get really short sighted when they're consuming all this rage porn on social media about whatever topic they're enraged by. It actually overwhelms them. They get decision fatigue and it paralyzes them. And all they really are doing is sharing a bunch of shit and alienating a lot of people who they actually really love. Right. People don't realize how alienating they are in their own social circles by how they consume and then like reshare a lot of stuff. And a lot of people aren't even doing the real research. They're not. It's insane to me, okay? And I got to this point more recently where I just was like I can't be online, especially right now on Facebook. People are just so unkind. This is crazy to me. So that was a little bit of a tangent, but I think it's really important. I actually got to this point when during the pandemic when I was consuming a lot of the Black Lives Matter and the human trafficking stuff. Like I had certain friends who had different opinions, and the more I consumed what my version of rage porn was, the more I almost like dehumanized my friends. And I started to realize that I was alienating myself from people who I really care about and who, yeah, they might have a difference of opinion, but nothing is black or white. And, us having a difference of opinion about human trafficking or people of color or whatever it is doesn't necessarily make them a whole bad person and I'm some whole righteous person. Somebody could feel the same way about me about something else, right? Like, I don't know what, but somebody could have a different opinion than I do about something maybe political or economical and the more they're consuming certain piece of information, they could be dehumanizing me and seeing me as like an invalid human being on this planet because maybe I have a different opinion than they do about that, right? I don't want to be treated that way. Why would I do the same thing to the people who love me and who I love, right? Like, I just, it makes me really sad. And at the end of the day, like, we're all adults and you have the capacity to put boundaries and barriers around that and yourself and what you consume and how much you consume. Okay. And so it's understanding that this is so much bigger than you just like looking up stuff that you want to be informed on. And yeah, sometimes it activates you. Like, be really fucking honest with yourself about the experience that you have internally and the things you're thinking, the things you're feeling, and the things you're saying to others. Or if you're not saying it to others, the things you're thinking about other people in your life who maybe don't have the same opinions as you. And here's the other thing, if you are only friends with people who have the same opinions of you are living a very narrow life. You really are. And that's a hard thing for me to say because a lot of my life, I only had friends who had the same opinions that I did because I thought my opinion and my experience was a superior opinion and experience. Trust me, I am recovering from a lot of moral superiority. And this is part of the issue with social media is that social media can feed our moral superiority. The things that we think like we're better for or we're smarter about or we're morally superior about, of course the algorithm's going to feed the shit out of that. Because guess what it does? It spikes our dopamine. It reaffirms who the fuck we think we are, right? It reaffirms the things that we think that are like baddie bad McBatterston about ourselves. But guess what it does to us? It alienates us from amazing people in our lives. And through being a part of the affiliate industry for the last 13 years, I have met a lot of people who have very different opinions on like politics and social issues than I do. I'm so thankful that I have had that experience because I personally feel that it's made me more well-rounded. Do I always agree? No. Do I judge them sometimes? Absolutely. Like, I'm a human being. Do I sometimes think that they're totally leaving into their privilege and not understanding? Absolutely. But I also know that these are people who have been good to me, who have treated me well, who have treated other people well, who many people who, even if they associate with one political party, they're very giving. They come to the aid of many people, of many social groups. And something that I have really tried to keep in mind as I have been in the social media space is that nothing is fucking black and white. And people are walking around acting like life is black and white, and it's not. The people who treat like what they think should be happening in the world as black and white, those are the most fucking unhappy people on the planet. And I used to be one of them. Okay. They're the most unhappy and most dysfunctional, even if they're super high performing. Just being really real with you. And so my encouragement to you is to really take a step back and who are you consuming content from? What are you consuming content from? Are you checking sources, right? Are you just feeding into the rage porn? Are you just feeding into the dehumanization of people with opposite opinions as you? Okay. And opposite behaviors as you. And then the last thing that I want to just touch on is that not everybody is who they seem. And that's what prompted this in the first place, because this person, how he responded to me, no showing me and then, his like reason and just whatever, his lack of like, I don't know, any kind of like responsibility or like empathy or accountability for it was very bizarre to me, especially the fact that he teaches men how to be leaders. So it was the polar opposite of leader behavior. Let's just say that, like, what he said to me in the DMs was the polar opposite of leader behavior. And that made me think about, a lot of us are idolizing a lot of people online. And listen, nobody's perfect, okay? Again, it's not black and white, but if you are following certain people, I remember, gosh, I think this was like around the same time as the pandemic, but it had nothing to do with the pandemic. There's this coach, he's a nervous system coach, he's very famous. I almost dropped several $1,000s to invest with him, and I had a girlfriend invest with him, and I referred her to him. And I bought his book, encouraged many of my mentees to read his book. And I reached out to her. I hadn't talked to her in a while. I knew she was taking his program. And I asked her how his program was going. And I was so shocked when she told me that his company had charged a bunch of their course, like coaching certification mentees had like overcharged them, had charged their credit card like twice extra than they were supposed to be charged and weren't giving them refunds and weren't even responding to them. And this wasn't just her, it was like dozens and dozens of people. And it made me realize like not everybody is who they seem on social media or just in general. And also like what he teaches is brilliant and he's a brilliant coach. His education is brilliant. That doesn't take away from that, but it takes away from the integrity factor that I would think he would practice, especially being like trauma informed nervous system coach for business owners. You don't charge people and then not give them their money back. But that also tells me that he didn't organize himself very well as an entrepreneur. So he might be great at teaching that stuff, but he wasn't living it in his own life. He wasn't embodying it in his own life. And that's how I just experienced this person in how he responded to me. It was not a very embodied response. That's my own judgment of what I think that an embodied response should be. But it doesn't matter because it's really important. And this isn't to like fuel fear because I don't believe in that either. Like nothing's a waste. Nothing is a fucking waste. Every experience is can be a lesson. But there are people who show up on the internet pretending to be somebody they're not. And if you want to learn from and here's the thing, okay? Like we have brilliant doctors who do incredible work who are unhealthy. But it doesn't take away from the incredible work they do as doctors, right? And so if you don't care about that, then who cares? Right? To me, I want to see a doctor who practices what they preach or like who lives a little bit embodied. And I know that that can be hard sometimes, like especially when somebody's working 80 hours a week or whatever it is. But I want to support people who embody their work, whatever that is. Okay. Coaching, couple stuff, spiritual stuff. This is why I'm very particular about which kind of church I'll go to. Okay. I'm not going to learn from a pastor who doesn't embody what he or she teaches. Like, I just won't do it. I'm just, and so this is also why I won't teach things that I'm not embodying myself because I think it's really important. So you have to have a little bit of healthy skepticism. Now, I'm not talking about being a skeptic to the point where you think everybody's scamming you, everything's a fucking scam, because that also is not healthy either. Okay. That's just ridiculous. And you also have to be able to look at things from a black, like from a, not a black and white, sorry, from a gray perspective. Like, not everybody's perfect. And even people who embody things in their teaching, they have hard times in life. They have other things they're struggling. Like, I embody like talking about this like feminine energy, but guess what? I have some health struggles I'm going through. Like, I'm a fucking person. So you have to look through this lens of gray, okay? And understand that people are going to go through different seasons and different things, and they're going to make mistakes as coaches and thought leaders. And it really comes down to, do they acknowledge their mistakes? Do they acknowledge where they were immature? Do they acknowledge where in their life they might not be fully embodying what they teach? Right. And are they honest about that? Are they honest about their struggles with that? Obviously, it's not about people airing their dirty laundry. Like, not everybody has, like, I don't even have to share with my audience that I'm having health issues. It actually has nothing to do with what I teach, right? But I just am open. Have I shared everything that I'm going through? No. But I think that it's learning to trust your intuition. This is what it really comes down to. And your intuition is not going to tell you every single fucking person is scamming you. That's not your intuition. That's a trauma response. And listen, I've been scammed too. Like, my husband and I lost $10,000 a while back. And I think about that often when I'm about to invest. That comes up in my mind just for a second, okay? But if I was really being honest with myself, when we invested that money, I had this tiny, 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 tiny little speck of a feeling that it wasn't a good idea. So this is again why I'm talking about this is you need to trust yourself. You need to trust your intuition, the Holy Spirit, your inner knowing. Okay. You can't just fall in love with the shininess that is happening with how the person presents themselves or how, like, you have to really do some soul searching. Is this the right thing for me? Right? Am I willing to take a risk on this coach or on this, investment or this or that? And how does this person make me feel? Am I buying from a place of fear or am I buying from a place of inspiration? Because that's another thing. People who truly embody their work, they usually come from a place of inspiration. Doesn't mean they don't ever talk about pain points or problems, but they're usually inspiring you. They're usually activating you to want to live similarly or have something similar to what they have, your version of that. Somebody who is using fear all the time and only talking about pain points and making you feel like shit that you don't have what they're offering, that is not an embodied person. I can tell you that from experience. Okay. So these are just some tips that I want to give you. Use your own compass. Get the fuck off social media like at a certain time every day. Stop scrolling until you fall asleep. Like, you are literally incepting yourself with whatever you've been scrolling right before you go to sleep. So let me tell you what I've been doing recently that has been incredible for my mental health. Okay. Now this is coming from somebody who uses social media to grow her business. So I post, I get off. Okay. I plan what I'm going to share in my stories. So I'm still sharing very genuine, authentic, behind the scenes of my life, but I'm not literally online all day, just like sharing everything about my life all day because I want to live an embodied life where I'm actually living my life. Okay. So I'll take little snippets throughout my day. I also just like to document my life. That's just how I am. I like to film my daughter. I like to film my family. Like, for me, I go back and I watch all my own videos. So I'll take little snippets and I'll share the pieces that I think are going to be powerful or helpful or feed some curiosity about women who want to work with me to help them know that they can trust me. Okay. That is how I show up on social media as a creator. Okay. I share parts of my life. I share lessons. I share teachings, right? I show them I'm embodying what I teach and I get off. When I am on, I am not just scrolling to scroll. If I want to check in on friends, I usually do it via their stories. And here's why, if they do stories, but most of my friends are social media people. So because I can control what's being shown to me more than not. So if I just get on Facebook and I check on one friend and then I'm scrolling, guess what? I'm seeing all sorts of shit that I don't need or want to see. Okay. So what I do is I deliberately go to their page and I might scope them out, or I go into their stories. Everybody's stories who I follow are my friends or people that I want. If I am not interested in you, I will mute your stories. That's just the truth. So, or if you post a lot of stuff that is not good for my mental health, I don't care. I'll mute your stories. Like, I have no shame in my muting game. Doesn't mean I don't love you. Doesn't mean I don't care about you. Because guess what? I can go check on you at any time. I can go look and see what you're up to at any time. Right. But I don't want stuff to be just incepted in. So I mute certain shit. Okay. And so I go to my stories and I might spend like 10, 15 minutes just like looking at some of my loved ones' stories or my friends' stories. I also just reach out to them. Isn't that crazy? I just have a personal conversation. Like, it's crazy how much I'm not on social media, but I have Facebook Messenger. I have a lot of friends that I've connected with. That is where if I am spending time on my phone, I'm in there, like talking to my friends. And I can like connect with them without ever seeing what's on their feed. Do you see what I'm saying? It's a way that I have boundaries with what I'm consuming. Okay. Also, if I get online to look for something, I specifically look for that thing. If I'm scrolling just to scroll, I'm being honest with myself that I'm scrolling just to scroll, and I try to put a time limit on that. Also, if I'm starting to get really activated or overwhelmed or like decision fatigue based on what I'm scrolling, I will take myself off and I'll tell myself, like, you can revisit this later. Like, you don't need to figure it all out right this minute, especially again, you guys, like, I'm on a journey with my health. Okay. And anybody who activates or invites like comparisonitis in me or jealousy, and I'm not inspired by them, I'm more jealous, I mute them until I'm in a better place. And that's on me, that's not on them. When I say they activate me, it's not that it's their fault. It's just more like whatever's going on with them in their life right now, I'm being activated by. Okay. I will mute them for a period of time. And or if I'm having a hard time with a friend or whatever, I will mute them for a period, not to punish them, not to be mean to them. Because guess what? I can always check on them. It's to protect my mental health. We were never, listen, when you have a conflict with a friend back in the day, or you broke up with somebody, you didn't know what the fuck was going on in their life once you broke up with them. That was like the whole fucking point. That was the whole point. Was to not know, was to not be able to know. They wouldn't know what's going on in your life. You wouldn't know what's going on in their life. The only way that you would know is if you went out of your way to go call them or like ask a mutual friend, right? So with this whole social media thing and us being able to see each other's shit and see what the other person's posting and what they're doing when we're upset with each other or when we've broken up as friends or girlfriend, boyfriend, or whoever is totally opposite of what our experience is supposed to be. Breaking up or discontinuing a relationship is just that. That's what it's supposed to be. And so this whole idea of like unfriending or unfollowing and you're immature is such a bullshit thing to say to people. No, it is okay to unfriend and if you have stopped being friends with somebody and you don't want their shit in your face because you have stopped being friends with them, it's completely healthy response to not want to see them on social media, right? Like, it's crazy to me to like, why, if you are disconnecting with somebody in real life, why do you have to stay connected to them in social media life? Like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. It makes zero sense to me. And I think that it's harmful to people's mental health. I think it's harmful to have some sort of friendship breakup or relationship breakup and then be looking at their shit all the time and going through this play and well, they're online all the time, but they never texted me back. Why? Blah, 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 whatever it is. No, like it's not a helpful thing. So give yourself permission to do what's healthy for you. Okay. And what's healthy for you may not be healthy for somebody else. And what is good for you, somebody else might deem immature. Who fucking cares? Like, truly, who cares? You are in charge of your mental health. You are in charge of what you consume. You are in charge of how you handle things that make you angry on social media, either how you handle it outwardly or how you handle it inwardly, right? Internally. Nobody else is responsible for these things but you. Your mental health and relationship with social media and your mental health are 1000% a you responsibility. So, with that being said, the other things that I'm doing are I have a strict time that I am getting off my phone at night, which is usually like between 7 and 8 o'clock. It just depends. It's more about like depending on my work day. Because I do have like a broken work day because I pick my daughter up from school. But for the most part, I'm off of my social media at 7 or 8 at night. Okay. And I really work to go on my social media very deliberately, like scrolling. I'm looking for something specific because, again, I can stay connected to my friends in the DMs, right? For all my friends like that I have on social media, we can talk in the DMs. So there's a difference between going into the DMs in my mind and going and just like scrolling through social media. Okay. The other thing that I don't give into is like, I'm in a lot of group chats. I love my friends and I love my, like, some different colleagues of mine. But I have friends who they are like, they just literally circle social media all day long and they're like putting posts in the chat and like, did you see this? And I don't go follow the rabbit trail. I don't go follow the rabbit trail. So a lot of this comes down to self-control, you guys, and having self-control about what you choose to take in and how much of it and how much you choose to allow that to affect you. Okay. So those are the things I'm doing lately for my own mental health. And I hope that it served you. I would love your feedback on this episode, especially because I riffed a lot and I ranted a lot, but I do think that it was of value. And please share this with somebody, and I'll see you in the next episode.